If you pump 10,000 volts of raw industrial electricity through a thin, low-grade copper wire built for a cheap desk lamp, it explodes, not because the electricity is bad, but because the wire lacks the bandwidth to handle the power. Most leaders pray for a 10x vertical jump in their abundance, but when the universe actually answers that prayer, their physical nervous system short circuits. They misunderstand the intense voltage of success for a panic attack and shut down their own business. Your business cannot outgrow your nervous system. If your capacity for ease is locked, you always melt at the threshold. Stream episode 127 now and book your 15-minute subconscious audit at Bespoke Human Potential Coaching. Be legit. If you attempt to pump 10,000 volts of raw industrial electricity through a thin, low-grade copper wire built for a standard desk lamp, the wire, it instantly explodes. But notice carefully, the wire didn't melt because the electricity was evil, faulty, or bad. It melted because the wire lacked physical infrastructure and cellular bandwidth to conduct that level of voltage. If structurally collapsed under the weight of the power, most leaders and entrepreneurs and visionaries spend their entire lives praying, meditating, and grinding for a massive 10x vertical shift in their revenue, their impact, and their personal freedom. But when the universe actually answers the prayers and strikes the grid with this lightning of sudden abundance, their physical hardware short circuits. They step into a massive influx of capital or a sudden dominant market takeover or an absolute internal sovereignty. And instead of feeling victorious, they feel dizzy, breathless, and profoundly anxious. They mistake this sheer kinetic voltage of sudden abundance for a panic attack. They intentionally shut the system down just to keep the wire from melting. For the advanced members of this community who have walked through our multi-episode arc and know exactly where we are, we diagnose why the biology pulls back in episode 124. We stabilize the silent vacuum of leverage in episode 125. And we drop the memory ghost of the old truck episode in episode 126. Your brakes are officially off. But if you are tuning into the show for the very first time and have never experienced the way we work at Bespoke, look at your historical patterns. Almost every leadership program on the market teaches you how to manage scarcity or avoid burnout or survive a brutal crisis. But virtually no one teaches an executive how to handle a massive vertical trajectory of ease, pace, and expansion without short-circuiting the biology. Today, we're shifting your identity from surviving the storm to conducting the lightning. Welcome to the Legit Mindset Podcast. I'm Curtis McCullom, your host. Today, we are rewiring the neural pathways of sudden abundance. Let's do some surgery to understand why sudden exceptional good fortune can feel like a clinical emergency to the body. We need to look at the interactions of behavior psychology and neurobiology. In behavior psychology, researchers studied the rigid mechanics of positive effect tolerance, the specific threshold a human nervous system possesses for holding positive emotional states, success, and ease. When external reality forces a massive surge of positive events past the subconscious threshold, the system triggers what clinicians call an upper limit problem. Body experiences the unfamiliar positive expansion as an overwhelming metabolic shock, misinterpreting the physical rush of expansion as a direct threat to survival. If you haven't been initiated into our framework yet, Let's look under the hood of your brain at the cellular level. When your business operates at a standard, predictable pace, your neural pathways fire down heavy traveled routes. But when a massive surge of velocity hits your company, it demands immediate high speed neural conduction. Neuroscientists tracking your brain plasticity look at specialized brain cells called oligodendrocytes. These cells are responsible for myelination. Remember, myelination is the wrapping of the thick, isolating layers of fatty myelin sheaths around high performance neural pathways to allow signals to move at 100 times faster. But here is the biological catch. The oligodendrocytes only synthesize the wrapped myelin efficiently when the nervous system is operating at a state of baseline safety, ease, and presence, never when it is trapped in chronic survival duress. So, if you try to scale your company to 8 or 9 figures using a nervous system that has only optimized the pathways for threat detection, your wiring cannot physically process the speed. See, you don't need a better wealth manager. You need a thicker layer of myelin to handle the transmission. So here's the diagnosis. Is your copper wire melting? Let's look at that. For those who are new to the room, let's run an objective operation diagnostic. How do you know if your current physical hardware is melting under sheer voltage of your blessing? Look for these 3 unmistakable somatic red flags. Red flag number 1, the abundance restlessness. A massive joint venture lands. Your bank account surges to an unprecedented injection of capital. And your team completely automates the process that used to take them about 40 hours to do a week. But instead of you relaxing to the wind, you feel an intense, frantic physical jitteriness in your limbs. You find yourself pacing the floor. You keep checking the metrics that don't need to be checked or picking up the phone every 30 seconds. The problem is your container is too small for the energy. Your body is trying to bleed off the positive voltage through hyper emotion. Red flag number 2, hunting for the catch. The moment things get incredibly good, your internal language shifts to dark, a predictive pattern. You look at growth and think, this is too easy. What's the catch? What about to screw me, or who is about to screw me over? I know I've been there before. Or when is the market going to change? Or when is it going to turn? You are actively attempting to inject a dose of familiar survival cortisol into a pure environment because your undermyelinated brain paths cannot normalize the exponential trajectory of ease. This is red flag number 3, guys. This is the scaling short circuit. Right as you're handed the biggest contract of your life or step into a massive new realm of spiritual and personal sovereignty, your body physically collapses. You get a mysterious migraine. You start experiencing extreme fatigue that prevents you from actually showing up to keyboard room meetings. This is not a random medical fluke. It's your biological hardware manually but tripping the circuit breaker because it does not possess the structural bandwidth to safely hold that level of scale. Let's talk about the changer. This is the subconscious audit. If you recognize these patterns in your life, hear me clearly. No amount of business strategy, motivational audiobooks, or traditional talk therapy will thicken the installation on your neural circuits. You cannot consciously think your way into a wider somatic container. This is why we engineered the subconscious audit. This is a highly precise 15-minute diagnostic baseline. It's checked to design specifically for elite founders and leaders. Whether you're a longtime student of the L.G.E.T framework or you're experiencing my voice for the very first time, this call skips the superficial layers. We just go directly to your subconscious hardware. We map at the exact limits of your positive effect tolerance and show you precisely what's causing your system to short circuit at the edge of your next multi-million-dollar expansion. Stop playing it small just to keep your old low-grade copper wire comfortable. Go to Bespoke Human Potential Coaching right now and book your diagnostic audit. It's right in the top corner up there. Let's upgrade your wiring. Let's get back to the show. This is the treatment, conducting the lightning. When we work with high-level visionaries at Bespoke, we don't teach them to slow down their business growth to protect their comfort zone. We expand the zone to dominate the speed. Through mental and emotional release, we systematically execute a subconscious subtraction on the historical identities of lack and struggle and survival. We clear out that primitive neural pathways that treat speed as pain. We kind of surgically widen the internal cellular container so that your hardware views exponential abundance as completely normal, safe, and baseline. And once that slate is cleared, we introduce the Somatic Speed arc using targeted bespoke daily mental supplements. These are designed specifically for you. This is how we purposely prompt your oligodendrocytes to lay down myelination around your new high-leverage pathways of expansion. We train your brain through specific daily cognitive conditioning to sit entirely still while millions flow through your ecosystem. We move your nervous system from a state of frantic and contraction to a state of massive, relaxed conduction. You stop reacting to the expansion like an emergency, and you start directing the power like a ruler. The voltage flows through you clearly without a single spark and without a single meltdown. You did not build this legacy to spend the rest of your days cowering in the foxhole of survival. The lightning is hitting the grid. Widen your container, upgrade your wiring, and conduct the power. In this 4-part solo run, we revolutionize your perspective on leadership. Take immediate ownership of that. Subscribe to the network and leave a direct review on the platform. Send this exact episode to a founder who is currently short-circuiting at the threshold of their biggest victory. Let's help them handle the speed. This is Legit Mindset Podcast. I'm Curtis McCullom. Be legit.